Alrighty, guys, welcome back to a Conservative Confucius here. It's the Friday Shabbat podcast. Shalom, Shabbat, Shabbat, Shalom. How you guys doing this Friday? I hope you were doing very well. I hope your Thanksgiving was great. Mine was pretty good and pretty tired. One of my little nephews hit me in the face with a freaking BB gun, so that wasn't good. That's why you don't. That's why you shouldn't let little kids play with BB guns, especially when they're like 6 years old. But yeah, that's what's going on with me. I hope you guys are doing good this Friday. So we got some interesting videos for you and some other interesting news for you guys. We're going to get right into it. Don't forget to go down there, smash the like button. Make sure you guys, it really helps me out when you guys hit that subscribe button. Make sure you guys do that, please. I'm dealing with monetization issues from YouTube. I cover controversial topics that may be harmful to viewers. So because I cover news like what we're going to cover today, and because I cover news on the Ukrainian-Russian conflict, and I don't say, oh, I fully support Ukraine. I don't support Russia, but I don't fully support Ukraine either. And because I say things like that, I'm considered controversial and possibly harmful to viewers. So go down there, make sure you hit that subscribe button for me and ring the bell for notifications so you can get all my good stuff. Don't forget to go down there and leave a comment if you guys like. And if you like the video, don't forget to share it. Please go check out my Discord at Conservative Confucius server and my merch store. Get some of these dope-ass shirts. We got our Thug Life with the administration on there. We got our other Thug Life with Donald Trump with gold teeth. All these come in different colors. This is the heavyweight shirts. They're made out of the similar material to the Carhartt shirts. And then our other ones are just really, good high quality shirts, similar to Grunt style t-shirts. They have the shoulders with the flag and the logo, kind of like Grunt style. So, all righty, guys, let's get down to it and do it. Here we go. We opened up with this video posted by Gazawood, of course. These people, I'm sure you've seen these people. They're like Operation Pink or whatever the hell they call themselves. And they basically are just a whole bunch of old, lonely cat ladies who have no life and just harass people at stores, harass Congress members and Senate members at, the Capitol. It's just ridiculous. We'll finish up this video. Why is the world silent? Why? How could the world be silent? That guy should get himself checked for skin cancer. You have an Arab police officer who's like, an Arab police officer who's looking at you like, are you fucking stupid? Sorry for my language, but are you stupid? Look at me like, come on, like, what are you doing? This guy is like, dude, I don't have time for this shit. Freaking white leftist liberals, dude, they are no fun to anybody.
That's enough. Just your one warning. One warning only.
Yeah. Finally, an old dude comes in. He's like, I've had it. That's enough. All righty, let's get on to our next. Fucking dick. All righty, let's get on to our next one. So this is from Jews Fight Backs. Jewish students are rejected from UCLA's Cultural Affairs Commission because they are Jewish. Isn't this illegal? This is actually a violation of the Civil Rights Act. So as you can see here, it says that there was nothing specific that they couldn't hire Jewish people, but they were given a no hire list, or not to hire list. Right here it says that. And it was basically an anti-Jewish blacklist. According to multiple students that were interviewed after they were denied to be in the Cultural Affairs Commission with their school, they were rejected. One applicant said that about an issue of importance by noting that he had listed himself as a Jewish student at UCLA. As a Jewish student at UCLA, it is imperative that I have a right to express my identity, which is why he was signing up for the, Cultural Affairs Commission, which is like part of that. So they turned him down. They also turned down every other Jewish student who applied. One who had just mentioned in passing that he was Jewish, and due to the fact that he said he was there was another one who was didn't go to a staff retreat and was rejected because he had to explain that he was a Sabbath observant Jew, and obviously that they didn't like that as well. So I mean, as you can see, finally staffers were told that the upcoming retreat a no hire list, that's an anti-Jewish blackfish, would be shared. And so that it's just ridiculous. And the reason why is because lots of Zionists are applying. That's what they said. That's why they had a no hire list, because lots of Zionists were applying. But really they just mean Jews, which is ridiculous. And I mean, it's not a surprise this is happening in California of all places. So this is from this is posted by Dr. Malouf, but I can't remember her name, Gabrielle something. She's a Middle Eastern woman who speaks against, Islam. She's very harsh on it, and I love almost every video she does. She's just goes right at him.
Hello, everybody. I'm Brigitte Gabrielle.
Brigitte
I am
Gabrielle.
holding in my hand the Muslim Brotherhood Plan for North America, written in 5/22/1991. This is their plan, titled مذكرة تفسيرية للهدف الاستراتيجي العام في أمريكا الشمالية. This is about their explanation on how they're going to take over the West, their 100-year plan to infiltrate and dominate the West and establish an Islamic government on earth. This plan was presented as evidence in the Holy Land Foundation trial, the largest terrorism trial ever in the history of the United States, where our government handed down 108 guilty verdicts to Muslim Americans and Muslim organizations in America, raising money in the United States and sending it overseas to support terrorist activity overseas. And I'm going to read you a paragraph about their intention in the United States and how they describe their work. Number 4 of the paragraph is titled Understanding the Role of the Muslim Brother in North America. And it says, the process of settlement is a civilization jihadist process with all the word means. The Ikhwan, which is the Arabic word for brothers, must understand that their work in America is a kind of grand jihad in eliminating and destroying the Western civilization from within and sabotaging its miserable house by their hands and the hands of the believers, so that it is eliminated and Allah's religion is made victorious over all other religion.
Sounds familiar. I mean, not that I'm saying I've heard that before. I think I did a while back. I saw this video originally when it came out. It's been a long time. But yeah, no, I mean, it sounds very similar to many hadiths or many Quran verses, along with many other Muslim organizations like Hamas's charter and other charters of other terrorist organizations that have a very similar charter saying things like, oh, and Allah's religion will be across the face of the earth, and the infidel and the apostate will be crushed under the feet of the, great, Muslim people. It's like ridiculous bullshit.
As you can see, they don't mince words. They don't beat around the bush. They tell you exactly what they want to do. They go in detail in this booklet talking about how they are going to implement their plan and the organizations that they had set up in the United States in order for them to advance their plan in America. And here are the names of some of the organizations. They give the names of 29 organizations set up in America to do that. So I'm going to read you some of the names. ISNA, the Islamic Society of North America. If the name sounds familiar, it's because ISNA used to be advisors to President Obama.
Yeah, that's where I was like, ISNA, I know that. Where is that? Yeah, that's right. He was advisor. That's why Obama ended up funding ISIS to fight other, like Al-Qaeda and the Taliban and other groups. So we created ISIS basically, and we trained their members because it was a way for us to fight against who we thought was a worse enemy, but we created one of our biggest ever because of Obama. And I'm sure that ISNA was a big part of that.
About Middle East policy. So now you understand where signing the nuclear deal with Iran came from,
that too.
And why Obama was all over himself trying to appeal to the Iranian regime, even sending them pallets of cash in the middle of the night on an airplane, landing in an airport in the middle of the night, millions and billions of our tax dollars. Number 2 on the list is the MSA, the Muslim Student Association. The Muslim Student Association has chapters all over American universities. So today, when you are watching all these demonstrators on our American universities screaming death to the Jews, we hate the Jews, from the river to the sea, Gaza will be free, or Palestine will be free. Now you understand where that is coming from.
Well, the chant
Number
originates
8.
from 1947 and 48 when the Arabs said that they would push the Jews into the sea and claim the land for the Arab people. And if you look at the newspapers, it doesn't say Palestinians invade, it says Arabs invade from the surrounding countries. 5 Arab armies invade Israel. And, it's ridiculous to sit here and make arguments like, oh, that's saying it really doesn't have roots in, violence. No, it does. It's literally referring to what the Arab countries were trying to do: push the Jews from the Jordan River and into the sea. You were trying to commit genocide against the Jewish state that had just been created. And you're saying your little chant its origins are from that idea in the original chant that they came up with, which is the same thing.
8 on the list is the North American Islamic Trust. The North American Islamic Trust owns 90% of mosques in the United States.
Jeez.
Number 22 on the list is IAP, Islamic Association for Palestine.
I've heard of that,
which later became CARE, the Council on American Islamic Relations.
That's right.
Now,
I've heard of both
when
of
you
them.
read all this stuff, you think to yourself, how can this happen? Does our government know about this stuff?
Yeah.
I have been talking about these things for over 15 years. This is detailed in my book, They Must Be Stopped, which came out in 2008, detailing this plan. When I used to talk about these things, I was accused of being an Islamophobe. People called me a hater. Nobody wanted to listen. When I was warning about the Muslim student associations on college campuses and the money coming from the Middle East
PFLP
funding,
and all those other terrorist
social
organizations.
study department, the political science department, and appointing professors who are anti-America and anti-Israel to teach that Israel is evil, America is bad, and the Islamic world is the underdog, and the Palestinians are the oppressed. Nobody wanted to listen. Nobody wanted to pay attention. So today,
and this is why we've now ended up in a position where Qatar, of all countries, Qatar, where the founders of Hamas live, and in billionaire penthouses, that's why their country, who the Hamas members funnel, and the other terrorist organizations that also have heads in Qatar, all funnel their money through Qatar government and Qatar organizations into America to fund American universities. The number one donor to American universities of all foreign countries in the world, Qatar was number one. And nobody can tell me where. I mean, I know where it is, and probably a lot of other people who are knowledgeable on this topic, but most people in the world can't tell you where Qatar exactly is on a map. Even though most people can't even name a single thing about Qatar, what its capital is, if it's next to this country or that country, if we've ever done relationship business-wise or otherwise with them. And nobody from anybody in the West can really tell you much about it. But for some reason, a country that we don't have any relationships with, don't have any business dealings with, we don't really know much about, is funding our colleges in such a large way, and tens of billions of dollars. Yet no one is concerned in our government. No one's concerned on the administrational level of these colleges. Are you kidding me? Why is it that the administrations of these colleges and administrations in the government aren't saying, you know what, this is such an issue that maybe, just maybe, we should do an investigation on this and make sure that this money isn't coming from the wrong people and going towards the wrong things? How do we know that this money and these donors aren't influencing these colleges similar to how donors influence politicians? Because once you get the money from them, you kind of have to toe the line and do what they want. That's how politicians get screwed into things. And I'm sure that colleges work the same way. That's why we see such a shift on college campuses from just these, slowly over time, more and more speech canceled, more and more ideas that were wrong being pushed. And you say, hey, well, what do Muslims think about, they wouldn't want to push gender ideology. Yes, they would, because if they can push gender ideology, they can divide a society. It's the exact same reason that China pushes content in America that is destructive, while in China, they only push educational, design, engineering, art, dance, math, things like that are, that actually help a society positively progress, and not just progress, which is really regression in America, but positive progression.
You see all these people organized on the streets in the United States, hating Israel, hating the Jewish people, hating America, tearing down American flags in the pro-Palestinian demonstrations in New York City. Now you understand where that is coming from. If you want more details about this plan, you can read it through my book, They Must Be Stopped, which is available on Amazon, as well as for a donation for Act for America, tax-deductible donation. We will mail you the book so you can understand what we are dealing with. Thank you for your time. Please share this video far and wide and encourage your friends to share it. And please go to Act for...
Yeah, you got it. So that was, Brigitte Gabriella or whatever. She does a lot of great videos. I encourage you guys to check out some of the, conferences that she's spoken at, some of the, summits and other things that she's gone to. She does a great job of just annihilating people who try to say, oh, you're just saying this because you don't like Islam and you're an Islamophobe. No. She lived under it for years. She's not from America or, the UK. She's from the Middle East. She grew up there, and she experienced what it was like to be a woman in those places. And she now speaks out against it, and for women in the Middle East who are being oppressed, which is what I would call a real feminist, not this bullshit feminist that we try to see now and say, speak about all the things that don't matter. And then when things that do matter get brought up about real oppression, they back up and act like nothing's happening and say, we're focusing on the things that matter to us. And, just because we speak on this doesn't mean that we won't speak on that. And it's like, well, then why don't you? And they're like, well, because today we're focusing on this. And it's like, but there's never a day where you focus on what I'm talking about or what anybody else is actually facing real oppression. None of you are willing to do that. Same with the, so-called human rights activists for the, Palestinian bullshit. It's ridiculous to sit here and think, oh, okay, so you're willing to fight for this issue, but you won't fight for the, African Christians that are being slaughtered, or the Lebanese people that are oppressed by Hezbollah, or the Syrians that are facing, starvation and freezing and all kinds of stuff because of their own government, and the Yemenis who were slaughtered by the Saudis and Iranians, like all these different peoples who are being oppressed by Islam. And you refuse to go into any of those, because once you do that, the same people you march with and that are paying for all your protests, they'll abandon you once you start calling out their religion. So this is from Bassem Eid. He's a activist. So he says, so he's a Palestinian peace activist, and he's not like, normal, like he's not a pro-Hamas a-hole. Let's put it that way. Hamas rejected an Egyptian proposal for a 12-day ceasefire and the release of 100 Palestinian terror prisoners in exchange for a release of only 4 hostages from Israel. Hamas doesn't care about bringing respite and aid to get Gazan civilians. It still is set on murdering Israelis and trying to wipe Israel off the map. And yeah, as you can see, here's the article he referenced, and it's true. I've been saying this forever. And so, I mean, what's her name? I'm brain farting. What the hell is going on here? I didn't click on Amazon. Oh, Golda Meir. I didn't even have to look it up. Golda Meir, she was one of the people that mentioned something that people still repeat to this day, which was, we won't have peace in that region, and specifically between Israel and Palestine, until the Palestinian people, parents, adults, love their children as more than they hate Jews in Israel. So we won't have peace until Hamas and people who support Hamas and the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, people who support those kinds of things, we won't have peace until those people love their children and their civilian, their neighbors and their friends more than they hate and want to murder Jews and Israelis. That's the only way this ever gets solved, is if those people learn to love their children and neighbors more than they hate others. And I don't think that's going to happen easily. I think that really we've seen that these people want, more and more destructions. The only way to do anything is to eliminate them and then de-radicalize the rest of the somewhat less radical population. So this is from Viscarad 24. This is a picture of the UNRWA president, or the commissioner general, basically. This guy in the middle looks like a white guy, kind of. I don't know if he is, probably white. Yeah, he's, I don't know, French last name, or French first name, German last name. I don't know. So then you have the UNRWA chief of Lebanon right next to him, and you have all of these people, terrorist leaders, PFLP, DFLP, another PFLP leader, Fatah al-Intifada, which is basically another terrorist organization. They were one of the people that Hamas overthrew. You have the Palestinian Islamic Jihad, one of the leaders, and you have Hamas chief of foreign relations right here, Ali Baraka. That's funny, Baraka, like from Mortal Kombat. Do with the, knives that come out of his hands. I don't know. Sorry, I'm a huge nerd, as you guys can see behind me. I got all kinds of comics and Star Wars and all kinds of other nerdy shit. So that's just who I am. Yeah, this woman, I saw this and I was like, oh, this is going to be another, dumb person. Then I realized she has, F Hamas and Israeli. I was like, oh, okay, maybe not. Maybe not. We'll see. And I don't know why she wears the keffiyeh. Maybe it's an Israeli keffiyeh. I can't really tell. I don't see if it has Hebrew writing on it or what, but yeah. There's keffiyehs for the entire Middle East. People think they're a Palestinian thing. They didn't create the keffiyeh. The keffiyeh wasn't even popularized until a British man started wearing them, or not wearing them himself, but he made his military brigade wear them. And it was the Middle Eastern British Military Brigade during the British Mandate of Palestine. And that was what really popularized the keffiyeh. And then afterwards, other people started wearing them, like Yasser Arafat, and that's what really, really, really made it popular. Not just with people around that area, but everywhere in the Middle East and the world. And slowly that became like the symbol for Palestinians, even though Yasser Arafat and his uncle, who was a Nazi, Amin al-Husseini, were both from Egypt, and so was Mahmoud Abbas, who was also mentored by Yasser Arafat's uncle, Amin al-Husseini. They were all from Egypt, and I mean, half of the names in Palestine are either Egyptian, Jordanian, or Saudi Arabian. And you have some that are also Assyrian or Armenian or Turkish. And that's mainly because all of these people immigrated to the land during around like 1900 to 1915 during a real economic boom because of Jewish people coming back to the land and building businesses and, airways, like Palestinian Airways, a Jewish company, Palestinian Railways, a Jewish company. All these different companies called Palestinian were actually Jewish companies that were starting, and all these people were moving in because of this large economic growth. The first pharmacy chain in Israel during the early 1900s was built by Jews. And people have no idea about any of this history because they're completely brainwashed by TikTok propaganda. I'm glad to see someone like her on here. So yeah, it says a peace agreement was offered to Arab leadership in 37, 47, 2000, 2005, 2008. Every single one of them was denied. This is because it's never been about negotiating for peace, but rather eradicating the existence of a Jewish state because of our non-Muslim status. Pan-Arabism is still here. You don't know what Pan-Arab is? If you see the Jordanian flag, a couple other flags in like North Africa, also a couple other flags in the Middle East, as well as the Palestinian flag. All of these flags have the same colors and almost the exact same design. That's because the original Pan-Arab flag is one of. I'll just show you a picture. It's easier to do it this way. All right, here you go. There you go. This one right here. This is what I want to show you. Let's see if I can open this up in a new tab so it's easier. I hate Reddit, but let's see. All right, whatever. Okay, so this is not how much I wanted to zoom in, but all right, we'll see if I can go in this way. That's making it worse. All right, whatever. Here you go. So you got all the different flags. You have Iraq since 2008, Jordan, Kuwait, Libya, Palestine, Sudan, Syria. As you can see, they all look very, very, very similar. And if you go down, I don't know if they have the old ones here. Let's see. Arab Federation of Iraq and Jordan in 1958 is almost the exact same as where's the Palestine one. It is this exact same length. And some of the shorter ones, like the Arab Revolt, are very similar to the original, so-called Palestine flag from 48 to 59, which wasn't even used. It wasn't used until 1964, actually. This was really something that was like used by one group of people that never really popularized. It wasn't until 1964 when Yasser Arafat brought out his version of the Palestine flag, which was the same as, multiple other flags, including Transjordan between, this is the one that's a little bit shorter, and also the same as the Kingdom of Hejaz and Najd, between 26 and 32. So they had like the same flag during the same time. And here's Hejaz again. And these all are the same thing, basically. There are just different ways. You have the ones that have stripes with stars, and then you have the ones with triangles and stripes. And it's just, that's it. Like, they're all pan-Arab flags. These are what they are. And it's meant to, it was trying to be like, oh, let's create another Islamic state by every country that we have unifies in some way, whether it's, our flags, and then after the flags, it'll be the governments will link together. And once the governments are linked together, then we can consolidate it in one giant, Arab Islamic state. And that was their plans. It didn't work out, and they're going to continue trying to do this, but, hopefully it doesn't work out.
Arabs were offered a state which the Jews agreed to every single time. So we have the 1936, the Peel Commission, where, and you were surprised about this, 80% of the land was offered to the Arabs.
Yep.
And then we fast
I think
forward.
when you show a map of that,
It's actually like 70, but yeah.
It's shocking. It was
Actually, no, you see, the Jews would have gotten more. So this would have been, yes, this is actually wrong. It would have gone down to here. And it was all the way down to here. So, but it didn't go to the border. So Gaza and this was all of theirs. So they got like 70%, and we got or it was more like 68%, and we got like 32%. And it wasn't, we were willing to accept it because, it was more than we would have expected. And also we wouldn't have had access, even though this shows as red, we would have only had access. This would have all been ours, all this red area, except for Jerusalem and Bethlehem. They still would have gotten those, and they would have gotten Nazareth and everything too. So all the historic cities of, to the Jews, whether it was Jerusalem, Bethlehem, Hebron, or Jenin, or Nazareth, all of these would have been to them. All of them. Doesn't matter. Like, they didn't care. They, they just wanted to get any land near their homeland that they could call, that they had some connection to. So they said, fine, we'll accept it. It's not what we want, but it's better than nothing.
Denied, rejected. Yeah. And then in 47, the UN partition plan, also a good amount of land. I think it was more, equal this time.
Mm-hmm. Okay, so actually, yeah, that's the one I'm talking about, the UN partition plan. The Peel Commission, we got even less land. That is true. That's right.
And they're offered a land, a state. It was offered in 2008. And this is 100% of Gaza, 94% of the West Bank, including
that's actually, that one she is wrong on, though. It was 98% of the West Bank. And then they would get compensation for the other 2%. And it's crazy to think that they would have turned something down like that.
And removal of most Jewish settlements and some land swaps. Half of Jerusalem, so it could be their capital, East Jerusalem, and the right of return for 1,000 Arabs per year.
Yep.
So that is, I think,
that's perfect. Everything that they are asking for now has been offered to them since the early 2000s, because we offered them way more, a lot in the beginning, but they, the right of return didn't exist back then. It was not an idea for them, because they didn't believe that they were indigenous to the land. They just wanted the land. And now that the argument of, oh, we're actually indigenous too, blah, 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 is there, they want the right of return because they think it's been brainwashed into believing that they're indigenous, even though none of them can go back even more than 2 or 3 grandparents before they're non-existent in this land. Most of these people, their great grandparents moved here in the early 1900s. Like I was saying earlier. So it just, like they don't want anything to do with any of these plans. Like they say, oh, if you give us this, then we'll be happy and we won't, we'll give you peace. But it's not about that. It's just about removing Jews from the land, getting rid of the name Israel and taking that away from the land, and then taking back over the land. They say all they want is the right of return, peace, and no whatever else they claim. But yet every time that exact deal gets offered to them, they refuse the deal and then attack right after the refusal.
Perfect deal. They should have accepted it. They denied it. Constantly throughout history, we see that it wasn't about finding a way to make peace, but it was more so about, well, it started first of all with Pan-Arabism, where they wanted to have a united Arab front.
Yep.
And this idea of any non-Arab group having a state and disrupting this vision is a problem, especially because if it's a Jewish state.
Yep.
And this extended to why Kurds do not have a state of their own today. So Pan-Arabism is, why we see all of the Levantine, all of the North Africa and the Gulf area. They're all 22 of them are Arab countries,
Yep.
and their flags are all the same color, and that is why Pan-Arabism. So it was never about making peace. It was about having a united Arab front and not allowing indigenous populations to have their own state, like
Yep.
the Kurds,
Yep.
like the Jews, Assyrians. So
Armenians, the Kurds, the Yazidi, the Iranians, all of these people been overthrown, oppressed, and, just invaded on every level by the, so-called, Arabs who claim everything is theirs.
And
Yeah.
then two, you look at, these negotiations that you just talked about where, a lot of concessions were given,
yeah.
but unfortunately for,
Yep.
these,
Almost every time one of these deals happened, they asked for prisoners, like terrorists, to be given back to them before they said yes. So we would give them terrorists, like tons of them, hundreds sometimes. And then after we gave them back, they would say, okay, come to the table and we'll sign the agreement. And they said, no. We don't want the agreement. It's a bad deal for us. And it's like, wait, what? We just gave you back terrorists and now you're refusing to sign. And then right after that, they would attack again. And I was like, oh my God, this is ridiculous, man. And this is why Israel is so wary of them now. When they have a chance to take people out, they do it because they've been burned so many times. If you had a friend and he said, hey, can I borrow some money from you? And you were like, yeah. Go ahead. Here, just pay me back when you can. And you gave him, I don't know, $1,000 to pay his rent. And then when it came around to time to pay you, he's like, I just don't have it. And you're like, okay, it's fine. Just give me I'll give you a couple extra months. Okay. All right. Thanks, man. You come back a couple months later, still doesn't have it. And you're like, all right, whatever. It's all good. Just, it's a loan, bro. It's not a loan, or it's just a gift. It's a gift. You can have it. All right. And then a year later, he comes back and he says, hey man, can I borrow some more money? I'm just, low. I promise this time I'll pay you back. Don't worry about it. Just, when the time comes, just let me know and I'll pay you back. Okay. All right. Time comes, doesn't pay you back. And you're like, all right, man, I'm getting a little tired of it, but I understand if you're rough, and just, it's whatever. Again, it's fine. Just, it's a gift. All right, man. And then he fucks you over and you're like, all right, man, that's not cool, bro. Like, you've already kind of screwed me over in other ways. It's like, this isn't cool. And he's like, but I'm your friend, I'm going to let it go. And then again, he comes up, asks for money. And this time you're like, yeah, I can do it, but you have to make sure you honor this thing. And then he still doesn't. You would dump that friendship and be wary of other people that ask for things like that in the future. And if you weren't, you were an idiot. You are an idiot if you don't become wary of those things. That's why Israel doesn't ever go into agreements anymore without some type of, hey, we're not going to give you hostages, not hostages. We're not going to give you terrorist prisoners, and unless you give us hostages in exchange, so that we have an equal trade of value before any type of peace agreement is signed. Then we can talk about peace. But if you're just going to ask for something like terrorists and you're not going to give us any hostages, then we're not doing this. And people are like, oh, that's unfair. No, it's not. That's completely reasonable on how many times Palestinian leadership in Hamas and in the Palestinian Authority have screwed Israel over on every level.
a lot of these groups it's either for them all or nothing. They want zero Jewish.
They want the whole loaf.
Yeah.
And the more you wait to get the loaf, you're not going to have a loaf to take home. You're not even going to have a slice.
Weird analogy, but yeah, I guess it works. So this is kids who have been educated by UNRWA, the terrorist, connected supposed group that works with the UN, because Palestinian in Gaza, particularly, and in the West Bank, they refuse to let the United Nations in. So the United Nations says, okay, you can have your own United Nations sect, but you run it. You just make sure that you give us information and stats and stuff. And somehow the UN trusts those stats, even though that they've been outed as not only taking part in October 7th and in other suicide bombings, but lying about literally everything. We'll go over something in a minute.
بشار ما يرضى ليش. ايش المدرسة اللي بتروح عليها؟ مدرسة ذكور الجلزون الأساسية. تعلم عن المدرسة عن حق العودة؟ إنه لازم كانوا يعلمونا في المدرسة عن حق العودة، إنه لازم نعود، وحتى لو أعطونا مصاري لإسرائيل، حتى لو أعطونا مصاري لازم نعود. هل كان الهجوم على إسرائيل في 7 أكتوبر والحرب اللي بعديها مرتبطين بحق العودة؟ إنه الهجوم اللي كان 7 أكتوبر مرتبط لأنه رجع لنا أراضينا في 7 أكتوبر، في 7 أكتوبر وأخذوهم الاحتلال. تكره اليهود؟ طبعا. هل تعلمت أي شيء عن المحرقة في المدرسة؟ محرقة؟ لا. برأيك في راح يكون سلام بين اليهود والعرب؟ طبعا لا، لأنهم اليهود منذ سيدنا آدم هم يقتلوا الأنبياء ويقتلوا الرسل وقتلوا الصحابة ويسبوا على الصحابة وبيحتلوا ويسووا مجازر.
Wow,
شو اللي بتستمتع
so literally every single thing they said was based on lies, made up, and they're now being taught those most, like what they are actually guilty of, what the Muslims are actually guilty of. They've been telling these kids that the Jews are guilty of the slaughterings, of the massacres, of the genocides, and it's like, dude, what are you talking about?
المقاومة هم يقاتلوا والاقتحامات وكيف المقاومة بتصد على الاقتحامات. سوي عشان فلسطين. إن شاء الله أطلع شهيد أو مقاوم. طب هل الشهداء أبطال وفي لك صور إلهم؟ شهداء طبعا أبطال وفي ملان.
I mean, suffering so bad. He's in a nice park with beautiful, foliage, and he's wearing a soccer jersey, and he's fat and got a clean haircut with a nice, clean lines. Obviously, this kid isn't from an oppressed society. He's got a nice shirt on, like clean as hell, a clean haircut. He's overweight. He's in a beautiful park, and yet somehow they're oppressed. Go screw yourself, man. Kids like this are taught they're oppressed from the moment they can walk and speak, and yet this is where they live. Like, what?
عندي صور بالتليفون وحافظ التليفون والمعرض التليفون.
Yeah, and that's just one of hundreds of kids. I've check out some of my old videos. Go to my Israel-Palestine playlist on my channel and go check out some of the old ones on the propaganda videos. Anyone, just type in propaganda, conservative Confucius on Google on YouTube, or just go to my Israel playlist and go check out some of the videos. They're on the lower, they're down lower because they're older, but they're great. I exposed literally tons of kids from these UN schools and talking about how they want to stab Jews and how they want to run them over with cars and all these different things. It's horrible. Like these kids, some of these kids were like 7, 8, 9 years old. So this is from GB News, posted by Lisa Rosen. The political establishment in the UK is silent about the fact that, because they don't want to destroy the victim's image of the Muslim community in London and expose Islam as a not so peaceful religion, which I would say they're not peaceful at all. And it says GB News, Zionists leave Britain or be slaughtered leaflets distributed throughout Jewish London neighborhood. Like, if I read these different, it's just because a lot of them are written weird and they're like saying things in a more cohesive manner. But yeah, so as you can see, distributed throughout London, Jewish London neighborhood makes more sense. But yeah, anyways, I think that's insane. I mean, literally, what was it last year? They had a guy driving around with a loudspeaker, like a bullhorn on his car, screaming, kill the, or end the Jews. I don't want to get in trouble for YouTube's, guidelines, especially with my monetization issue right now, which I'm going to take to America First lawyers, by the way. I appreciate all the help with that. So driving around town with Palestinian flags hanging out their windows and with a bullhorn on top of their car screaming, end the Jews, grape their daughters, grape their mothers, grape their sisters, end the Jews. they weren't just saying that, they're saying death to Jews, grape their daughters, grape their mothers, grape their sisters, death to Israel, so on and so forth. And they would just repeat that over and over. And they're running through Jewish neighborhoods in London with that screaming throughout like a loudspeaker on top of their car with Palestinian flags everywhere. And you're telling me that those people aren't representative of the cause? Those people are the cause. That's the issue. So more fake journalism and this is what I was going to tell you about, a UN reporter. See, right here, he's wearing his UN press clothes, his UN helmet and all that crap, and his little UN vest. And it says, Gaza last night. Oh, no. She's pretty white, number one, and you're telling me that Israel is the white colonizers, and you have this sandy blonde-haired girl with very, very pale skin, and yet Israel is, even though that like 80% of Israel has DNA of the Middle East. Like, dude, come on. Nope, it's not. Another Muslim or another Arab, outed him for lying. This is not from Gaza. It's from Syria. It's from 2021. There is no journalism in Gaza, only lies and propaganda. Syria is a humanitarian crisis, which is worsening each day. Over 10 years of civil war. The war shows no signs of abatement. Yeah. So this is a picture from that article. And this is more from Gazawood, guy we covered in the beginning. So this video was, I don't know if you guys remember when the girl who talked about, I don't know why they blurred out her eyes. It's ridiculous. They all did this. I don't think they wanted to show her crying because it would have made it seem, harder to believe. So they all blurred out her eyes and then faked a screenshot. They screenshotted it and then added a fake closed captioning, which said, and they refused to grape me, which felt like emotional grape, which was not real. And they all reposted this. Dr. Anastasia Maria Lupus, who blocked me on Twitter because I called her out so much. Jackson Hinkle, Suleiman Ahmed, Censored Men, all those losers and douches on X and Twitter. Half of the music in here is always get me copyrighted, so I'm going to have to keep it silent. Yeah, there's Suleiman Ahmed, that loser. I already outed him the other day saying, oh, look, they're the real Nazis. And I'm like, you tried to say someone else, he's not friends with Nazis. We're actually the Nazis. And I was like, dude, here you are hanging out with a Ku Klux Klan Grand Wizard, Sneeko, Nick Fuentes, Jake Shields, Lucas Gage, some Nazi Asian dude, and you're all doing the Nazi salute in the video together, laughing. Like, and you're telling me that you're not the Nazi? Yeah, Daniel Hajiku or whatever, that loser Dawa idiot who tries to debate. He's not even Muslim or Arab. He's white, and he thinks he's some smart dude, but gets completely obliterated by every Jewish and Christian debater. It's hilarious. And now we will see what Mia actually said in those moments in the interview. I'm on. Here we go. And when they take you and leave you, when they take you and leave the others behind. I still can't get that out of my head. Jeez. So they would take her from the room she was in and do things to her. I remember this interview. This is only like cut up sections of it, but it was really bad. She was talking about how they would take her from the room where the rest of the hostages were, and they would take her into the other room and, essay her. Jeez. It's leaving that place and apologizing that you get to leave. Oh, to the other hostages? That's so sad. I'm feeling guilty because the others are left behind. And telling you, Mia, please, don't let them forget about us. In other words, Mia Shem said she feels guilty about being released while their hostages remain captive. Yeah, but she did talk about her assaults that she had been through and how other girls had been through some similar things, and the men were, treated horribly. I encourage you guys to watch either that interview or the other ones that she's done, and they're just really bad. I mean, you guys can see what happened to some of those girls before right after they were taken, about how the Hamas soldiers were saying what they were going to do to them. And, I hope that some of these girls are virgin so I can take their virginity. And I can't wait to, ruin this Jewish slut. And it's just horrible things. Like, it was really bad. They were saying the word sharmuta a lot, which means whore in Arabic. But yeah, so, well, yeah, more dumb fake propaganda from Gaza. What exposed again? This guy, he always exposes the best. Let's run from the bullets and make sure that I keep my phone completely, sideways the whole time I run. So, woo. It's the stupidest thing I've ever seen. No one can realistically run from bullets. And while this guy is smiling, you can see it right here, a little grin on his face. Let's see. Still smiling. Yeah, idiotic.
الخير النهر انزل اسبح هاي بركة يلا امسك.
That makes no sense. How did it get wet if everything you had, your bed and you were up off the ground, and the floor wasn't even that covered in water? Same kid rescued from 2 different rubble sites. Smoky background added to Palestine, picture of Palestine. That looks ridiculous. That is some cheap AI editing, dude. Come on, man. Like, this is just ridiculous at this point, man. I don't know if you've ever been in rain. Putting a pot on your head is actually really annoying. I remember I had a metal thing in my hand one time and I put it over my head. It just rings in your ear. Ding, 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 ding. And it's so obnoxious to listen to. So that's just unrealistic. And it's not like they couldn't just go under something. Like, over here is camps and buildings and tents and all kinds of stuff. And it just use children for propaganda whenever they can. And here's some more of the pro-Hamas idiots dressing up like they know what they're talking about. And, 99% of these people are white liberals who have no idea what they're doing and no idea what they're talking about when it comes to this crap. It's so funny you put a Lebanese flag next to a Palestinian flag when the Lebanese people support Israel. Where's he injured? Perfectly healthy looking person, except for his hand, which we can't show for that long because... Oh, it is propaganda. Just a fake photo, a fake video. How would you be ready to film this video? How would you know that he's going to pass? Oh, it's BDS video. Ridiculously stupid. Alrighty, guys, that's going to be it for this one. I appreciate you guys coming down. Don't forget to go down and hit the like button, hit that subscribe button. It really helps us out with the demonetization crap right now from YouTube. So make sure you guys go do that for me, please. Don't forget to ring the bell for the notifications and all that stuff, and share this video if you guys like it, and leave a comment, please, if you want to. Don't forget to go check out my Discord server and my merch store. Get your Thug Life shirts down there, or any of the other ones. If you guys want any custom designs, just let me know and I will do them. Alrighty, guys, you have a good one, and I'll see you next time.